Let's talk about slope balls. Oh yeah, free skip. Everybody gets it for free. It's not free or easy. It's actually really difficult. There's some brand new Hollow Knight tech that was found over 5 years after its release. It's been called slope balls or stall balls or stall pogos or sloped fireball pogos. We're still deciding on a name, but the idea is this. We want to shoot a fireball into a wall and pogo it. Simple enough, that lets us get up higher than we would otherwise. So why did it take 5 years to find this tech? Well, just a few days ago, on May 7th, glitch hunter Dan Olov posted this video, showing that it was possible to reach Monarch Wings without ever picking up Mantis Claw. How did Dan do it? Using this new technique. The idea here is we're shooting a fireball into a wall, but instead of the wall eating the fireball like happens most of the time, it just kind of hangs there. And because it hangs there, we can actually pogo it to get up higher. This tech turns out to be surprisingly useful. So why did it take us so long to find it? We had known for a long time that you could pogo on a fireball, but we'd only really tested it with ones that were shot by our shade. This was a sort of advanced and niche form of a shade skip that unfortunately was mostly RNG. You had to just hope that the shade would shoot a fireball, and if it didn't, you're kinda out of luck. So it wasn't exactly the most popular tech, but it was known. What we hadn't found before was a way to pogo our own fireball, and the reason for this is pretty simple. If we shoot a fireball, it moves way too fast, and we just can't keep up with it. So what changed here? The idea that Dan is using is that when you shoot a fireball into a sloped wall, then it doesn't necessarily hit the wall. Sometimes it just kind of follows the wall like this, and we'd actually seen this before too. But it takes a very particular kind of slope to get this to work. When a fireball hits a very shallow slope, it moves basically at the same speed as if we just shot it. That doesn't really help us, we can't catch up to it. But when it hits a steep enough slope, it actually slows down enough that we have a second to try to pogo. Dan had found a spot where the fireball basically stayed put, and it turns out there's a lot of spots like this. Now, before I go any further, I want to break down the mechanics of this a little bit more. So I just said that the speed of the fireball depends on the slope. A shallow slope leads to a really fast fireball, and a very steep slope leads to a very quick one. Now, most of the walls in this game are completely vertical. They're just right angles to the ground. They're not sloped, so why don't fireballs just stop on those walls? Well, when Vengeful Spirit hits a normal wall, the fireball hits the wall and just disappears. That was the typical experience, and indeed it's actually the experience you see most of the time even when you shoot a fireball on a slope. This is the other part of why this trick took so long to find. Whether or not the fireball stayed put instead of hitting the wall is inconsistent. At least we thought it was inconsistent. It turns out if you put the game to 50 frames per second, exactly the rate at which the physics engine runs, then these skips actually become completely consistent. By making these fireballs consistent, we can test tons of different locations to use this trick, and it turns out there's a lot of them. Now, there's a couple of things that we need to look for when we're searching for these skips. Like I said, we need pretty steep walls, but not completely vertical ones. We want to find somewhere where we would normally need some kind of vertical movement, like wings or claw, and we wouldn't have it there normally. And we need to make sure that we don't have Shade Soul, because if we have Shade Soul, the fireball just goes through all the walls, and there's no help there. That might seem like a handful of relatively significant limitations, but as it turns out, there's over a dozen locations where this technology is still useful. Now, when Dan first discovered this tech, it was in search of a way to reduce the total number of required wall jumps in the game, certainly a bit of a niche application. But it turns out that there's tons of applications of this tech in speedrunning. Let's take a look at one of the first places you would think to look for uses of this tech, low percent. Now, the idea behind low percent is we want to finish the game picking up as few items as possible. As it stands, the game can be completed with only 11% completion, and this tech does not change that. What this does, however, is give a brand new way to get into the fungal wastes. Now, this new skip can save minutes over the current low percent route. For comparison, here's what we're doing right now, and here's what we can do with this tech. You can see it's a lot of time saved. Now, saving multiple minutes on a run is a pretty big deal, but it's an even bigger deal when that run is only about 42 minutes long. Only I tricked you a little bit by showing you that leaderboard. You see, that leaderboard is for patch 1221, the most common speed patch for Hollow Knight speedrunning. In fact, this tech only exists on the latest patches of the game, patch 1.4 and beyond. Those patches changed the way that fireballs interacted with walls and seemingly made this tech possible. So what does that mean for a run like low percent? There is a separate board for runs done on the latest patches of the game. You can see that board here, and you can see there's a bit of a gap. In fact, there are a number of things that make the latest patch a bit slower than patch 1221, but the thing is, with this new tech, it is probable that the optimal patch for low percent actually becomes the current patch of the game. And a change like that is massive. We're not just skipping a few minutes at the start of the game, we're changing the entire patch that the game is played on. We're changing the entire run. Now, you might think low percent is the most impacted by this, but actually there's pretty significant skips for other categories too. Let's look at a different low percent category that some of you might have heard of before. That's low percent true ending. Now, the idea behind low percent true ending is similar to low percent. We want to complete the game with as little as possible, only this time we're going for the radiance ending. Unfortunately, that requires 1,800 essence, and in low percent, we can't kill any dream warriors to get that essence, so you end up farming birds for a long time, or in more recent runs, bees. So how does that run change with this skip? Well, low percent true ending currently picks up monarch wings, and the reason that it's done is to do one jump in White Palace, this one. With this new technology though, we can actually skip monarch wings with one of these fireball skips. It looks like this. So low percent true ending is actually getting a lower percent now. It's skipping an item. In fact, it skips several percent. Broken Vessel doesn't need to be killed anymore, and Monarch Wings on its own was 2%, so that's a pretty significant change. But there was one more thing that we used to get in low percent true ending, and that was Lostkin. See, we had to kill Broken Vessel anyway, and Lostkin isn't an additional percent, so we got 400 essence for a relatively quick fight. With this new skip, we have to farm another 400 essence. This is adding something like 10 to 15 hours to the run. So, not all time saves. Now, don't let me trick you into thinking that this tech is only useful for niche categories like low percent or minimum wall jumps. No, this is useful for a wide range of categories, maybe even any percent. How does that look? Well, there's been a long theorized route of any percent, where instead of picking up Crystal Heart, we pick up Isma's Tear. The way that works currently, we need to go and pick up Monarch Wings, but the problem is we had to do a shade skip to do that, and that shade skip required a nail upgrade, and all of it together just takes a long time. It ends up not being worthwhile over the regular any percent route that picks up Crystal Heart. But this new tech can actually circumvent that shade skip. That means you don't need to pick up the nail upgrade either. That means that alternate route for any percent just got a lot faster. And this skip is actually one of the more consistent ones that we know of. Moreover, one of the reasons that route was never seriously pursued is that it included one of the hardest skips in Hollow Knight speedrunning, Magismas. Well, with this new technology, we can do an easier version of Magismas that pogos a fireball at the end of the skip. It's still very difficult, but it's more consistent than the previous skip, and it might make the alternate any percent route more viable. As things stand, there's a separate board for runs of this route. It's called the Save Milo board because when you don't pick up Crystal Heart, Milo never gets infected. Those runs will become minutes faster with this new tech. But there are numerous other category extensions that get affected by this. That same shade skip used to be done in Grey Prince Zote percent, a wonderful run where you try to fight Grey Prince Zote as quickly as possible. Now that route becomes completely different. That nail upgrade used to be basically the only damage we got in the run, and we have to fight Grey Prince Zote and do the Colosseum of Fools in that run. Well, now there's no reason to pick up a nail upgrade, and those fights just got a lot harder. But the run becomes about 3 minutes faster with this new tech. One category that gets both faster and significantly better with this tech is All Stag Stations, or AS%. All Stag Stations was previously characterized by one of the worst skips in any run, which is the Shade Fireball pogo to get up to Hidden Station without wings. This skip was terrible. You had to hope for the Shade RNG to shoot a fireball, you had to reset the room anytime any fireball missed or you missed the pogo. It was basically an RNG check in what was already a really short run. Well, luckily for us, one of the most consistent slope balls that we have is right outside of Hidden Station, and this removes the need for a shade and speeds up the run and makes it less RNG. That's a category that got strictly better with this tech. Now, those are the big skips that we've found so far, but like I said, there might be more to come. We've seen that we can get a slow fireball in Beast Den, which could save a bunch of time in the regular any percent route. We've seen that we can skip up to the Howling Cliffs from Green Path, which saves a bit of time in a few different categories. And if you're a randomizer player, then the applications become almost limitless. Here's a clip of getting into the Shape of Un area early. Here's a clip of getting up to Hallownest Crown without wings. Here's a clip getting into Fungal Core if we have Mark of Pride equipped. There are tons of these skips, and there's definitely more to come. Whether it's for speedrunning or for new skips for the randomizer, this tech is exploding. As things stand right now, it's not considered a major glitch, so all of the no major glitches runs are able to use this tech. Many of them got completely changed by the introduction of this, 5 years into the game's history. That sort of thing is pretty rare and honestly really exciting to me. I'm excited to see what else people can find with this, and I hope you are too. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you next time.